831-0864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
We need to get community. We need this thing to be bigger than just our little circle of players and coaches.
Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Oregon.
With 2 seconds on the clock. He hits it!
That's the bigger picture in this thing, allowing the community to celebrate the hard work, blue-collar mentality this group brings to the table.
And the Ducks have won it. The Ducks have won.
We get to struggle together, and we get to have joy together.
The Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
I am so proud right now to be the head coach at Oregon.
Catch made. Touchdown, Oregon.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
The Coaches Show last night, Oregon football coaches show. Dan Lanning and Bo Nix were great. If you missed it, subscribe to the Oregon Sports Network podcast. We've also got it for you on the Go Ducks YouTube. Some clips from that, some of the highlights coming up on today's shows. We continue to preview the noon kickoff against Portland State. The Ducks taking on the Vikings. I was actually just listening to Vikings head coach Bruce Barnum talking this week about some of his thoughts on Oregon. I'll tell you, as part of our 10 a.m. pregame show, you're going to want to hear a little bit of what Coach Barnum had to say. He was fun to listen to, I'll be honest. I'll be rooting for the Vikings after the conclusion of Saturday's football game. Joining us to kick things off, though, today is Athletic Director Rob Mullens. Rob, welcome back.
Good to be back.
How are things?
Things are great. It's here we are. Volleyball, soccer underway, cross-country football about ready to go. It's an exciting time of year. You got on the new gear.
I do. Yeah, I put it on today.
Nice. Yeah. Looks good. I like it.
Fits good. So someone asked me this. I'm going to ask you completely out of left field.
Okay.
All right. I do this from time to time. Someone asked me so this is my 10th football season.
Oh, wow.
Rob, it hit me today. And someone asked me if I have a favorite piece of gear. Because, normally we ask student athletes, what's your favorite uniform, right, over your career? Do you have a favorite piece of gear from your time so far?
We don't have enough time for me to really think about
to go through the closet.
It's interesting, yeah. I'm sure I do because, you just land on that one piece that's comfortable.
It fits perfect.
I'm not superstitious, so I don't get into, we've won when this piece or that hat. So It's not that. It would be just about comfort and look.
Yeah, see, I know exactly what the basketball team's record is in every sock I've ever worn.
There you see, I don't.
It's the baseball player in me. I can just never let that go.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you personal level, your son dropped him off at college the last week.
I did, and so just very proud of him and excited. But boy, was that tough. I mean, it's our oldest son, and it's not within driving distance, so it's a long way from home. But yeah, it was really emotional, exciting. Obviously, it's that next chapter, but. That was a hard goodbye.
Yeah, I bet. Well, so that someone had asked me, hey, usually Rob's come on the show a couple times before we get to game week, and I said, no, there's a good reason for this, everybody. This you had to do that. That was a big deal.
100%. I didn't want to miss any piece of that. So I was out there for dorm move-in. And wow, it's a reminder that two young people can live in such a small space together. I think the two things that I would struggle with are living in that small of a space and not having a car.
Yeah,
I mean those are just huge adjustments.
You're bringing back memories for me of
I know it's funny.
Day.
You get into these conversations, and people are like, "Oh, freshman year is so special. Dorm life is so unique," and I'm looking at that, going, "Ooh,
yeah,
that looks hard."
I was in Hamilton Hall. So if you're ever going across the crosswalk near Matthew Knight Arena on Agate Street,
across from Jaquaa,
yeah, that was me. So our building was right there. I was in McLean Hall, which happened, Rob, to be the tour hall. So when you were going on tours in 2000, let's see, it would have been the spring of 2012, that was my dorm that you walked through.
Yeah, it's, you move in and, there's, the two college students, 4 parents, so we got 6 and then 1 brother. We got 7 people in the room. We can barely turn around and trying to elevate beds and move dressers and get situated. There was one good sign is the RA's room was right next to my son's room.
Oh, so good, yeah.
At least there's another set of eyes to make sure things aren't getting a little out of hand.
That's great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm sure that was tough. But now it's football game week. Excitement to be back at Autzen, Rob.
Oh, yeah, thrilled. Obviously, it's fun to kick off another fall season and, just so much preparation both in between the lines and outside the lines goes on throughout the year, and particularly, from the spring through the summer that you're ready to put it in motion.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you first about some enhancements at Autzen Stadium because you get asked about this. I feel like anytime you do a press conference, and, I should tell everybody, every time I ask Rob to come on the show, he comes on the show. In fact, you're scheduled once a month from now until June. I don't know if you realize that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we try to get ahead of it on Rob's calendar. I feel like you get asked about that stuff, and I never think to ask you about enhancements maybe as often as fans would like me to. So here's my moment where I'm going to get it right. Enhancements at Autzen Stadium, always on your mind.
Always on our mind, obviously. As we talk about endlessly, when we design a facility or, when we're reviewing a season, we're looking at student-athlete experience. That's why we're here. And we're looking at fan experience and what things can we do. And, when you look back particularly at Autzen over the last several years, we can pinpoint all of them. Zen North, scoreboard, sound, turf, so many of them. But, and a lot of that kind of falls under John Sargent and his team. What can we do to improve the fan experience in and around concessions, obviously parking. We're going to a digital parking to try to speed it up and maximize that for fans. There's a whole long laundry list of items that we review every year. You have to put them in priority order, and you're not able to address everything for a variety of reasons, most of which is usually financial.
Right.
But, we want to do those things that are most important.
On that note, if you had unlimited funds, you'd do everything in one year, right?
You would. Yeah. You would if you could get everything permitted and approved and, supply chain and all that. But, that's – and when we get a lot of fan feedback, obviously we do a survey after each game that we evaluate, and then obviously the staff does a debrief after each game. But then, at the end of the year of where are our biggest needs.
One thing that sticks out to me and has in my career is the competition between TV and being in the venue. And this year, there's a new addition with the rewards program that's been launched. We talked about it on the show earlier this week. More details, rewards.goducks.com. And as I was, hearing about this and the genesis of it, I really feel like it's for people like me that can watch on a 70-inch TV at home. But if you're in the venue, it's got to be a whole different experience. This is a way to do that.
It is a way to do that. And, as we've talked about on here several times, one of the things that's so unique about college athletics is that pageantry, that experience. And we're even trying to take that to the weekend, right? So we know a lot of our fans come to spend the weekend here. So what can we do on Friday nights? I'm sure people have seen and read what's happening at the Hawaii game in partnership with Cuthbert. And then, we have the Pre is the Diamond League. We're trying to build weekends. To make it, a whole experience. But in venue matters on a whole lot of reasons. Our student athletes, first and foremost, love the home field advantage at Matthew Knight Arena, at Jane Sanders, at Autzen. So that's important to us. And we want to, and everybody, it just kind of feeds off of itself to really create something that's, that people want to be a part of. Autzen is such an awesome experience, from the tailgating to the traditions, the motorcycle and coming home and shout, and it's a special experience.
Yeah, and you talk about making a weekend of it. It's also nice when soccer's at home, when volleyball's at home, cross country.
Yeah, what a huge boost to those programs if fans happen to be in town for a football game to be able to add in a volleyball or a soccer or a cross country. It's just, it's incredible energy for those student athletes to be able to experience that.
I talk a lot about them being community events, as you're alluding to, and I also think that sometimes sporting events are like reunions. And, so if you haven't, we've talked about this on the show too, but if you haven't seen the news, more detail, goducks.com. But homecoming weekend is going to be a big weekend for all of Oregon athletics alumni as well. And there's a lot going on still. I've even had people asking, like, so what's each program going to do? A lot of that's still being finalized and worked out for each program, but that's a really cool thing for a reunion aspect.
Really cool thing. Lexi Cross and her team have kind of spearheaded that of, like, let's do a blowout event for all letter winners, former letter winners, alumni, and what can we do to celebrate, and what can we do to keep that connection growing and building, because that is the foundation of where we sit today. And so we want to make sure to continue that engagement and even elevate it, really.
Yeah. I do want to make a note. I should have mentioned this earlier. Yes, there are some college football games tonight in the Pac-12 conference. Jerry and Jorgie did submit their picks. Scott was a witness. Don't worry. We've got you covered. A comment asked about it. This is serious stuff. Jorgie won last year, which is it's unheard of. So we got to change that this season.
Oh.
That's all.
He's that bad?
He had been.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody's helping him.
Yep. That's probably right. Yeah. That Jorgie, I didn't say it. But
that was a question.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Overall ticket sales, Rob. I mean, we talk about how that's the driver and that's such a big deal, but it seems like, at least I feel it, there is a lot of momentum after a 10-win season.
No, incredible momentum. Obviously, a great home schedule. And so, we've increased our season ticket totals, which is great. A lot of new season ticket holders, which we appreciate. There's a lot of attractive mini packages, and then obviously some single games. We're tracking towards 3 to 4 sellouts already.
Yeah.
And there's an opportunity for 1 or 2 others in there. So you get to 3 or 4 sellouts, that's an incredible year. You get to 5, maybe even 6 if you were stretching it. That's probably a stretch. But if you can get to 5, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. All right. So we have not yet talked about the Big Ten. We're going to do that. Quick timeout. Come back. Athletic Director Rob Mullens joining us for one more segment. An Athletic Director Thursday. It's like when you were on the CFP committee. We're back in time. It's Athletic Director Thursday, and we're back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the Lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio with Athletic Director Rob Mullens for one more segment. Well, the Big Ten, Rob. I'm just going to say open floor here to start. What should fans know as the transition begins and it's the final year in the Pac-12?
Well, start with that part. We're proud members of the Pac-12, and we're going to compete for a Pac-12 championship in every sport this year. And do everything that we can to win. And then, obviously, I guess what I would say is that, college athletics has been undergoing a significant change, call it over the last 8-9 years. We've seen a shift in, we used to create rules as a membership body at the NCAA to try to create a level playing field, competitive equity. And that started to change about 8 or 9 years ago where, we went away from that model and to a model where, we create rules that allow us to do more to support student athletes. Right. And cost of attendance added to the scholarship, unlimited meals, all the way to, kind of the Alston Cash Award that we do now for every student athlete to, all sorts of things, NIL. So, you knew when that started to happen, and, there was just going to be more pressure on resources, particularly if you want to stay in the Autonomy 5 or Power 5. And so then, what was it, in 21, when Texas and Oklahoma decided to leave the Big 12 to go to the SEC, that was a significant seismic change that the whole industry felt. Then on June 30th, 2022, when USC and UCLA decided to depart the Pac-12 for the Big Ten, obviously that changed what the Pac-12 was. Right. It changed the media value. It changed a lot. So at that point, everybody had to get serious about assessing, their current position, and then where could they be best positioned for the future as this change continues, and probably even more rapidly. So, I remember what it was like in this building when we all got that news. Everybody was like, how do we get in the Big Ten? And so, obviously, we did a lot of work over the last 13 months about what were the options, including, how can we keep the Pac-10 at that time together, which eventually became the Pac-9 when Colorado left. And so we worked with the leadership, felt like around the clock, but it was certainly on a weekly basis to, determine what the media value was of the 10 remaining for a while and then what became 9. And in the end, we had an opportunity to move with USC and UCLA to the Big Ten, which has clearly separated itself along with the SEC. And we took that opportunity to secure our future athletically, but and academically. It's a great set of peer institutions. And now we've got a lot of work to do, to support that transition.
There's still a lot of questions. I get questions about that every day,
sure.
Rob. I mean, so how difficult is that right now, going through that transitional period?
So it's just starting, but there's a lot of work to do. I mean, obviously, scheduling is a big question that we get.
Literally, that was my next question for you: is when will the schedule be out for Big Ten?
Yeah, I don't. I don't have that. I know right now, very similar principles, right? Student athlete experience, competitive balance. And making sure that everybody has an opportunity to compete, the way that we all should compete at this level. And I know there's some concerns raised about added travel, but I know there's a commitment from all 18 institutions in the Big Ten as well as the Big Ten leadership to minimize that as much as possible. So we may have to get creative. It's interesting, at the University of Oregon, only about half of our student athletes are really impacted because we have a number of sports, men's and women's cross country, men's and women's indoor track, men's and women's outdoor track. What else? Men's and women's golf. Acrobatics and tumbling is in its own league. Whose schedules really won't be impacted. Some of those will play in a Big Ten championship, but that's it. Their regular season schedule will remain the same. So for the other half, we got to get creative in how we schedule softball, baseball, volleyball, and tennises, and making sure that we obviously keep that priority on academics. Fortunately, a number of those are in the spring where our spring break sets, so you can do some creative scheduling in and around spring break if there's going to be added travel. There are now 4 schools on the West Coast, so making sure you incorporate that, you can minimize some
Not going to play Rutgers every weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. And obviously, the flight to Chicago or to Lincoln, is different than a flight to College Park.
Right.
So, but yes, that is very top of mind. And there's a whole team of ADs, SWAs, deputy ADs working on that.
It's interesting though that a couple things. One, I love that question has come to you. I know, and also I've heard that question a lot because that is the student-athlete experience to an extent.
Part of it. And, so some of the things may have to flip. I'm just kind of spitballing with you here. So let's just our volleyball team just went to Hawaii for 5 days.
Right.
A trip to Chicago is easier than a trip to Hawaii.
Right.
So we may have to flip some of that, right? So the non-conference trips may remain on the West Coast depending on, what your conference travel looks like.
That's actually exactly what Coach Abel and I talked about on this subject. He even brought that up. Just, hey, we go east a lot in the non-conference and then stay west in conference, so that turns over.
And so lacrosse does the same thing.
Right.
Lacrosse typically would go east once or twice a year, so that may have to flip. Softball goes to Florida once or twice,
or Mexico,
so you may just kind of flip that. So the goal is to minimize the extra travel, minimize the missed class time. Again, we just may have to flip. The further trips may be the conference trips, and then we'll keep the non-conference more regional, which is doable.
Yeah. Well, I know you and I will, of course, talk about this again.
And again.
A lot of people. Yeah. Well, if I could, so I should tell everybody that during this process, Rob actually had the entire athletic department staff in one room to talk about all this. And I want to take something, if I could, from what you said, and that's that nothing moves the needle more than conference realignment. For whatever reason, that really seems to be the case.
It draws a lot of attention. And, again, the thing for us is to, at the end of the day, the overarching goal is to make sure that the University of Oregon, after all the commitment that's been made, all the support that's been received, is that we position ourselves to remain at the top level in whatever form this takes moving forward. And there's not great clarity on what that's going to be because there is a lot of change. There's numerous lawsuits that are out there. Obviously, Congress is engaged. The NCAA is under new leadership. Our job is to make sure that the University of Oregon is positioned because we want to be able to deliver on that student-athlete experience. We want to be able to compete at the highest level. And that's the expectation of our student-athletes, of our donors, and of our fans.
Yeah.
And so, this allows us to position ourselves in the best way possible as we're in this rapid change environment.
One of the things that I've talked a lot about, Rob, too, is, and I kept coming back to this, and I know you feel the same way based on talking with you. President Schultz expressed it great in the press conference, I thought. And I kept coming back to this, that you can express multiple emotions at the same time. And for the U of O, this was the best move. I also have a lot of friends that work in the Pac-12. I have a lot of colleagues and friends that work at other Pac-12 schools. And as someone who grew up for 30 years watching and rooting for the Pac-10, 12, I do feel sad about that. But change is happening.
No, and me too. I agree. President Schultz expressed it perfectly that, we are human beings and we are capable of feeling multiple emotions at the same time. Yeah. I too am sad. We put a lot of work and energy into trying to find a path. At the same time, assessing the landscape so that we are in the best position to meet our goals, as a department, as an institution. And, there's a lot of difficult decisions in there. And we really won't know the results until sometime in the future. But as I mentioned, if you look back at the last 8 years, this doesn't come as a shock, right? When the NCAA model shifted and then, the movement started and then, two members of your own conference leave that dramatically change what the future trajectory is, you have to be on alert and be understanding of who you are, where you are, and what the options might be to best position yourself for the future.
Tough job.
I will say this is because, like you, I've got close friends at just about every institution. One of my closest friends in the world works at the Pac-12. So there have been a lot of really difficult conversations. But, at the end of the day, we had to do what was best for the University of Oregon with the options presented.
Another question I'm sure that you're going to get a lot. Everyone's asking about the Oregon State series. Just a chance for an update on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we said at the press conference, football is our goal will be to continue to play that series without a doubt. It's a wonderful series, two fan bases that really have respect for one another. Football will be the most difficult just because of the way football contracts are out so far out into the future. But we will be doing everything we can to try to figure out a way to play that. Other sports would be a lot simpler if the programs can find a way to do it. But those are more done on an annual basis. But that would be our goal, is to continue to play that series for sure.
We'll cover a lot of these topics, I'm sure, in future conversations. Again, Rob's always kind enough to join us on the show about once a month, how we have it scheduled. Just real quick, though, open floor again. What else should fans know? Do we miss anything?
Well, I think volleyball's off to a great start. I mean, again, we talked about they went to Hawaii.
I meant the Big Ten. I still have bullet
points
for
I'm sorry.
you.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. No, I mean, obviously our focus is on this year, finishing out strong in the Pac-12. And then, there's just a lot of work ahead. Yeah. So now can we go to volleyball?
Now volleyball, yeah.
No, again, incredible trip, to be able to go to Hawaii, play that level of competition. What a Final Four team from
number
last
13
year.
in the
number
country.
13, Northwestern, future Big Ten opponent, and then Hawaii on their home court. Incredible start after a long trip. And then now they're in San Diego to do it. And obviously soccer up and running. Again, young team, but really love the energy and enthusiasm around that team. So excited to see what they can do.
Both in action tonight, by the way. 6:30, televised on the Mountain West Network for Oregon volleyball, and then 7 o'clock in Flagstaff, Oregon soccer against Northern Arizona. It's an ESPN Plus broadcast this evening. Cross country starts Friday morning. Football starts on Saturday.
And cross country's in McMinnville?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so you can go see that.
Yeah, see, it's a whole weekend event. Well, actually, seriously, anything else? Did we miss anything?
Well, it's good to see a little liquid sunshine out there. Obviously, the firefighters that have been battling all these blazes in the state, so hopefully this gives them a little relief and can make a little progress. And we also have the benefit of improved air quality, hopefully, for high school football as well as college football.
Lastly, I did say we're going to make some picks. Jerry and Jordy. Rob, you got any picks? Florida, Utah, Southern Utah, Arizona State tonight? Who should I take?
Nope.
Good thinking.
I'm staying away from picks.
I think that's the wise decision. I wish that 2014 Joey took that advice. Picks have been – I'll tell you, if there's one thing that comes between Jerry, Jorgy, and I, it's picks.
You just got to come up with you probably spend all this time analyzing the data. Just dartboard it.
Yeah, well, I hate to, completely break the fourth wall here, but Rob, I've got a coin.
There you go.
And we found over the years we always have a coin pick also. There was one year the coin beat somebody.
Right. Yeah, probably, especially when you get into the middle of it. The Pac-12 is going to be incredible this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot
of fun. So there are going to be a lot of coin flip games. Yeah. It's going to be about a play, a turnover, a big break.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. Well, thanks for taking the time, as always.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday.
Yeah, noon kickoff. What time are you getting here?
I'll probably get here pretty early.
Yeah.
I'm anxious like everybody and excited, and I'll probably get here pretty early.
I'm a between 6 and 7 guy.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
For a noon kickoff.
Yeah. Got to set up the broadcast.
All right.
Got to get things rolling. Make sure there's actually this is a true story. Got to make sure there's no sunspots and sun flares. Because that can throw off the broadcast stuff.
Yeah, I'm anxious to get out there. I hope Judge Hogan is here. Judge Hogan has the ultimate tailgate.
Yeah.
And I like the noon games because he gets a little breakfast stuff going.
Yeah.
And you got to stop by and see Judge Hogan.
I think I've said this to you before, but the breakfast burrito to me is the best tailgate option because you have one hand free and one hand for food at all times.
And it's manageable to make.
Yeah, agreed. It's, in another life, I was a great tailgater. I really was.
I was too, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I love that. That probably is one of my favorite things about college football.
So when you're athletic director emeritus, do you just have the ultimate tailgate? Do you take on the judge?
No. That is he's next level. Well, hopefully when I'm AD Emeritus. I am. I just get to judge's tailgate earlier and stay longer.
That's right.
And can have a different beverage than I can have when I'm the athletic director.
That's right. Rob Mullens, Oregon AD. Thank you for the time, sir.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
We're going to get a timeout. We'll have some fun with picks and bring your headache medicine. Also, a little bit from Bo Nix and his great efforts helping those who have been impacted by ALS. Stick around on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Don't miss out on summer at Toyota's National Sales Event. It's the perfect time to squeeze out the last of summer with an exciting new Tacoma, Highlander, Camry, and more.
Toyota, let's go places. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary. Event ends September 5th.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Don't miss out on summer at Toyota's National Sales Event. It's the perfect time to squeeze out the last of summer with an exciting new Tacoma, Highlander, Camry, and more.
Toyota, let's go places. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary. Event ends September 5th.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Into the building for the first time after the shooting. It was crippling, but it had to be preserved.
In response to the Pulse nightclub shooting that affected the LGBTQ community, Barbara Poma, owner of Pulse, founded the One Pulse Foundation to honor Pulse victims and survivors.
If you're an ally of this community, speak out. There are more of us together than apart. It is the power of love in its rawest form.
Join the fight for LGBTQ acceptance. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. So last night we were planning to make some picks on our coaches show, but Bo Nix and Dan Lanning were both so great that we ran out of time to actually make picks the way that we would want to. And I got to say, I need to apologize to Rob. I knew he wasn't going to make picks, but I thought, maybe. No, I'm not going to do that to him. 5 o'clock tonight on ESPN, Florida visits Utah. That was a close one last year. In some ways, I think Utah should have won that game in the Swamp last year. And then Southern Utah plays Kenny Dillingham's Arizona State at 7 o'clock tonight. I'm looking forward to both of these games. College football is back in the Pac-12 Conference. I did ask Jerry and Jorgie, and I want to confirm that Scott was a witness. He knows that this is the case. They both backed the Pac. Both Jerry and Jorgie said, we're going with Utah, we're going with Arizona State. Utah's dealing with some injury issues, but it sounds like everyone's picking Utah. I also am picking Utah. I also am picking Arizona State. Now, of course, the coin, the hat from our spring game Marine Corps Challenge coin from a few years back, the hat is heads. Heads is the home team, so that means we've got tails, camera evidence, tails, that's Florida for the coin. And then, because the road team, by the way, is tails. Heads is the home team. And then one other, tails again. Sorry, camera evidence. Tails again. So that's Southern Utah. Looks like the coin's off to a great start this year. That's going to be great. That's going to be a lot of fun. From last night's coaches show, this is just a little clip, if you missed it, from Dan Lanning talking with Jerry and Jorgie about the defense. I thought it was a cool exchange, and Coach Lanning let us in on some insight what he thinks of the defense this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously tackling is such a huge key to success of defenses all the time. And we were talking about it off the air about, pro football, and they're only padded up pretty much 1 day a week to be able to do any type of tackling. So how do you go about the process when you are not in full pads every day? to make sure that the tackling is still sharp and effective and what it needs to be to be a successful defense?
I think it starts in recruiting, right? If you're not going to bite as a pup, you're not going to bite as a dog. You got to be able to you got to go recruit guys that are going to be great tacklers. That being said, you got to train it every single day, and you have to work it every single day. And even if you're not in pads, there's ways you can still work tracking. There's ways you can still work a perfect fit. But yeah, tackling's something you have to practice. And we thud a lot. We're not going to take guys to the ground. We want to be safe. But you got to practice putting contact, right? You got to have contact in practice to be able to be successful as a tackling team. I think we're a much better tackling team this year.
And so for fans that don't understand thud, what that means, just explain
you
it a little bit.
hit them high and hard, but don't take them to the ground, right? Injuries happen when guys go to the ground. We want to practice putting a high thud on people and finish them with a good wrap.
Your expertise, defense. I mean, you're head coach now, so I watch you coach, and you seem to see. You talk about Bo having a great vision. Your vision of the field during practice is pretty amazing, Coach. I mean, you seem to see everything. We talked about the defense a moment ago. You talked about depth. You asked me what I thought. I thought the defense is improved markedly. Depth may be a key part of that. Explain that.
Yeah, I think it starts just across the board. When you have more guys that can play at a high level, you're going to have guys that are fresh on the field and have more success. And, we showed some statistics to some of our players the other day about how all pro players in the NFL, they actually don't play the entire game, right? They play a marked amount of snaps to where they're able to perform at a high level when they are on the field. So it starts with having more players that can play at a championship level on your team. And then when you tackle better, you're going to play better on defense, right? We've got to be able to make plays on the ball. A great place to improve pass defense is to have a pass rush, right? So we hope to create that with some of the guys that we brought in. We also have some great talent, across the board, and it takes speed too, to play with the teams that we're going to play this year. You got to be able to run to the ball, and you got to be able to make sure you're not run past.
Biggest area of growth for your defense this fall has
to be tackling for us, right? And I hope you see that carry over, in season for us this year, and that'll show up on Saturday. We'll see what it looks like, but we have to tackle at a high level to be successful.
The offenses are so spread out now and all over the place, and linebackers have got to make sure that they play the run, but you need linebackers that can cover a tight end or even a wide receiver now. So you've changed your scheme a little bit. Maybe not a scheme, but you bring another free safety up to play linebacker. Explain that.
Yeah, our personnel, I think, we would put guys in the best position for them to be successful, but in this game, you have to be able to cover backs out of the backfield, tight ends, and we want linebackers that are athletic. That's something we certainly look for, but they have to have blitzability and coverability, right? They have to be able to go cover, and I think we have that with our group right now. I think there's a lot of competition in that room that's going to make us really strong too. There's a lot of guys that can play winning football for us there.
Most of the quarterbacks you play against in this league can move pretty well. And you're going to see one in game one, actually.
Yeah, probably one of the better ones we'll see all season.
Yeah, I mean, talk about him a little bit and who's doing the scout team portion of trying to mimic that quarterback, and then again the importance of having athletic linebackers and other people to be able to chase people like that down.
Yeah, this is one of the better scramblers we'll see. He does a phenomenal job of running with the ball, when it's not there from a passing standpoint. They target people down the field really well. They have a further target mark than most people that will play, but when he does take off and run, he's fast. He's 4.4 speed. And he can really roll. So you see that across his film. One of their best explosive plays last year as a team at Portland State was the scramble. So we have to do a great job containing him and then make sure that we have a hat that's responsible for him and somebody can actually keep up with him when he does take off.
That's Dan Lanning, Oregon football head coach. Good stuff talking with Coach Lanning. We've got more coming up. I told you a little bit about that initiative from Bo Nix backing up a lot of people that have been impacted by ALS and why he's doing that. We've got that coming up. Also a focus in on the offensive line when we return. Our Slocum Center Minute talking about Achilles ruptures. God, I never want to have one of those. Ooh. No, thank you.
Welcome to the Slocum Center Minute. Slocum Center orthopedic doctors are located here in Eugene and are the official orthopedic team physicians for your Oregon Ducks. With me, I have Dr. Lyle Jackson, a foot and ankle orthopedic surgeon at Slocum Center for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, discussing Achilles tendon ruptures. Dr. Jackson, tell us about Achilles tendon ruptures in athletes.
Achilles tendon ruptures in athletes are fairly common, especially in explosive sports like football, soccer, basketball. Oftentimes, athletes will describe being kicked in the back of their leg when nobody was there.
What's the recovery look like after you go through something like that?
Well, it can take a while. It definitely it's a season-ending injury for athletes, and that's regardless of whether it's treated surgically or non-surgically. There's certainly some advantages to treating surgically in athletes, and that's mostly to restore that length-tension relationship to the tendon. So most athletes end up having them fixed surgically.
Dr. Jackson, thanks for the information. Thanks for what you do.
You're welcome.
That was the Slocum Center Minute, brought to you by Slocum Center for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, the official orthopedic sports medicine team physicians for University of Oregon Athletics since 1967.
Don't miss out on summer at Toyota's National Sales Event. It's the perfect time to squeeze out the last of summer with an exciting new Tacoma, Highlander, Camry, and more.
Toyota, let's go places. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary. Event ends September 5th.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Don't miss out on summer at Toyota's National Sales Event. It's the perfect time to squeeze out the last of summer with an exciting new Tacoma, Highlander, Camry, and more.
Toyota, let's go places. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary. Event ends September 5th.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakovic, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Babes, what are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says.
Avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, Honey Bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. So last night, as part of the Toyota Oregon Football Coaches Show, we had Bo Nix, quarterback, in. And if you've missed the news, you haven't seen it, he's working with local people that have been impacted by ALS. And actually, for every touchdown that Bo Nix scores, he himself is donating to this cause. Pretty special, pretty powerful. I asked him last night about that and why he's doing it. You're partnering to donate a bunch of money by the end of the year to ALS. I wanted to give you a chance to tell fans about that and where it all came from, why you're doing it.
Well, yeah, ALS is special to me. I've had, 2 close people in my family circle, either have or have family members that, have really struggled with ALS, and it's, it's heartbreaking to see and to watch people go through that, families that we love dearly, my family loves, and so, it's just passionate. It's something, one of those things of mine that you've seen firsthand, and you just know that, awareness and all this kind of stuff can be nothing but good and nothing but help. So that's immediately what I wanted to go to, and, because it's had, a personal connection with myself and have seen it. And then, it's just I'm fortunate to be at a place like Oregon where you can get things like that, accomplished, and you can get it out there, and you got fan support and, team support. And, I think, it could spread. It could be a positive thing, as the season goes on. And, I'm willing to give, and that's one of my main goals. And then, anybody who wants to, feel led to do the same thing, we would love to have, that. And because it goes beyond football. It goes beyond touchdowns. It goes beyond, the final score. You're influencing people's lives and, families, and, a little bit goes a long way in things like this. And, I'm just passionate about influencing others. And, while I'm, on the earth, and while I'm here with this opportunity, I just want to bless others and just be, a light to people, even though, sometimes we get bogged down in football and you worry about wins and you worry about what's going on with you, and you got to sometimes take the blinders off and, see the real world out there and see, how people struggle. And, anytime you can give back is really important. And so, I think that with fans and with other people and with just the exposure of it, I think it could be a really good thing, and we could get a lot of people, working for our cause.
Yeah, that's awesome. So those that haven't read the news, for every touchdown that you score, there's going to be a donation, which is pretty awesome.
Yep.
Anything else fans should know?
No, I don't think so. I think it's, you're talking about with the ALS?
ALS, yeah.
No, I think it's just something to really consider, and it's important to me, and so I wanted to make it, a big deal, and really make something special out of this year.
That's awesome.
Because it's fun. It's fun scoring touchdowns, but at the end of the day, if you can use your passions for other people, that's why we're here.
Heck of a guy, huh? Bo Nix, quarterback, donating his own money to support those that have been impacted by ALS. I'm telling you, that's easy guy to root for, playing quarterback for the Ducks. Meanwhile, talking about playing quarterback for the Ducks, I actually asked Coach Lanning during a commercial break last night, what should I ask Bo Nix? And, Coach kind of joked, and then he said, actually, in all seriousness, you should ask Bo, like, when you've had success, and you had so much success last year, how as a quarterback then do you not force it to some of these really talented receivers that the Ducks have? And so, I stole this question directly from Coach Lanning. For a quarterback who had so much success last year, took care of the ball so efficiently, I know that's a huge focus for this offense, was last year again this year. How do you as a quarterback not try to force it? How do you as a quarterback take all that into account?
Well, that's tough. I think preparation's key, and it's, knowing if you know they're in quarters and you know how the wheel's going to drop, then you know how you can throw it around them. Well, if you're not prepared and you just go in it and see a dude, then you may throw it right to him, or something ball may get tipped or something, and then you got a bad play. And so preparation's key, knowing where guys are supposed to be, and then if they're not there, you can adjust from there. But I think it's just preparation and then being smart aggressive. If you got to throw, being confident and ripping the ball. But check downs are great, and we speak about check downs a lot. And it's a cliche statement, but, getting Bucky and Noah, even receivers on swings, getting those guys the ball in space, that's our offense. That's what we do. That's what we want to do, is get those guys open in space. And it's like an extended run play. And so when we do that, we're going to protect the ball and efficiently move the ball.
That's Oregon quarterback Bo Nix talking about the idea of not forcing it. I thought that was a great question from Coach Lanning, so I stole it. Also on the offensive line, been a lot of questions on the O-line. I did my best to sum up some of those questions, and it was an okay question. When you have so much success not getting sacked a season ago, some new faces on the offensive line, that's got to be a point of pride for you and for the entire offense that you didn't have a lot of sacks. Talk about turnovers, but sacks too. So what about this O-line compared to others that you've been behind?
Well,
what do they got?
At first thing you got to point out is a lot of guys left. A lot of guys are going to be playing together for the first time, but it doesn't necessarily mean these guys, haven't played college football. So it's just the meshing that's going to take time, going to take experience. But, even as we've seen through fall camp, those guys are aggressive. They're passionate about what they do. They're a close-knit group. They're smart. They're willing to learn and willing to grow. And so, to be honest with you, like, their drive and their determination, passion, something you don't have to necessarily really, talk with them about. You don't have to get them going. You don't have to fire them up. They come ready to play. And you got a good O-line where they're always constantly asking you, hey, how's the pocket? How are we doing? How are we holding up? And I always tell them, you're doing fine. You're doing great. Because I don't necessarily watch it, don't necessarily pay attention to it, and I feel like they're.
But you feel it though, right?
Yeah, of course. And you know how practice goes. They get 5 feet from you, and they call it a sack. But
I've seen that once or twice.
We have to constantly remind them, that when you get into live situations, it's not a sack. So it is what it is, but it's good to, practice those situations, get the ball out with timing, all that kind of stuff. And, I think the harder, the tougher it gets in practice, the closer it gets. It's just points of emphasis for us. both me and them to get the protection right, set it right, get the ball out, and then obviously they're going to do their job and hold up their end. So it's a collective group, and you can't compare them to last year because they're not last year's team. So they're going to be different in their own way. They're going to be good football players. I'm excited to watch them play and see how they develop throughout the season.
Quarterback Bo Nix talking with us last night on the Oregon Football Coaches Show. If you want to hear the whole interview with both Coach Lanning and Bo Nix, the Go Ducks YouTube has you covered, Oregon football social media channels, and the Oregon Sports Network podcast. Now, when we come back talking offensive line, guy who's been highly touted his whole career, has a lot of skill, could be a big impact guy this year on the O-line, Josh Connerly. Going to hear from him next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys! I love this song! I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. OnPoint people are the point. Over 522,000 members. OnPoint dedicated to improving the lives of our members and the communities we serve. Improving the life of the quarterback is a big key for an offensive line. Guy who figures to be a big deal this year, Josh Connerly, talked with the media this week. Some of his thoughts heading into the opener on Saturday.
Patient, knowing it's game week. What level of excitement for you this week?
Shoot. I mean, I think I'm super amped, you know, because like last year, I feel like I was like really nervous going into our first game. You know what I'm saying? Being a lot more prepared and kind of know what you're doing makes it a lot more exciting.
What kind of goes into that? Well, are you more at ease year 2 than year 1? Just how did you get there?
Yeah, I mean, kind of just like all the work that we put in through the off season. You know, building my body, building my mental, really being in the playbook and understanding like our coach's philosophy and everything. Yeah, I feel like that's what makes it a lot better for me.
What are some of the reasons that give you confidence going into the season that this can be a year for you guys that plays into January?
Can you repeat that for me? Sorry.
What are some of the things that gives you confidence going into the season that makes you believe that this is a team that can play into January?
That definitely like the cohesion that we've gotten through from the O-line. And I mean, shoot, we got a Heisman quarterback, All-American running back. I mean, I feel like our offense can be really explosive, and I mean, with the entire front seven returning, I mean, except for like Jordan Riley, I mean, yeah, I feel like we're gonna be good on both sides in our fronts. You know what I'm saying? So.
Follow-up questions about your group, just because 4 new starters. Do you guys feel that? Do you take that as a challenge? Is that chip on your shoulder? How do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like we work every day to really gel. and I feel like that's something that we work with every day, whether it's on the field or off the field. I feel like our connection as a O-line has grown since January a lot, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Josh, what'll it feel like? You played obviously quite a bit last season, but what will making the first start feel like for you?
I feel like it'll. I'm not really sure, to be honest. You know, I feel like I do feel prepared. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like there's really not a difference. You're still out there just playing, doing what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? To help the team win. You know what I'm saying?
Do you remember like what you felt like at the beginning of last year as a young guy, like somebody like Poncho who could get some reps early? Like, what do you tell him about like what to expect, what it's gonna be like, how to deal with all that?
Yeah, really just like try to slow things down as much, because I feel like whenever I came in, everything was just moving so fast and I didn't really know how to handle everything. You know what I'm saying? Really just trusting the guy next to you and just going out there and just do what you do everything that you worked on. You know what I'm saying? Just use your technique fundamentals and just work. You know what I'm saying?
You mentioned feeling more cohesion with the group. Was there a part in camp where that started to click, and can you point to maybe why that took place?
I would say it kind of did happen more through camp, but I mean, I feel like a lot of the reason why it happens is because of how we are off the field. You know what I'm saying? And just like we building the trust and knowing that we can just talk to each other openly, it really helps on the field when we have to communicate. You know what I'm saying? So.
How do you describe a clean game week one for you guys, for offensively and your offensive line group?
Definitely domination in the run game, and I mean not giving up any type of pressures.
How often do you get a chance to go up against Jordan Birch in practice?
I feel like we get to go against each other a good amount. You know what I'm saying? He always gives me a great look, and I'm gonna say I think I can definitely credit him for one of the reasons why I'm prepared for this season.
What is it about him that makes him a challenging guy at the defensive end?
Big athletic dude with speed. You know what I'm saying? And really powerful guy, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
What do you think is the biggest improvement or improvements you've made in your game just since spring ball ended?
You said since spring ball?
Yeah.
I definitely say being able to communicate completely down the line and making sure that everybody's on the same page. But if we're talking like personally, I mean, I feel like I've improved in both the run and pass game. So,
good stuff from Josh Connerly, Oregon offensive lineman. We'll see what that rotation looks like. I think that there's going to be a number of different guys along the offensive line. Kickoff on Saturday. Tomorrow, Jerry and Jorgie will join us ahead of the noon kickoff on Saturday and 10 a.m. pregame show. We'll make some Pac-12 picks, have a little bit of fun. Keys to the game as well. Toyota Women's Sports Schedule Spotlight tonight. 6:30 Oregon Volleyball against San Diego State. And then Oregon Soccer at 7 o'clock against Northern Arizona. We'll have those recaps for you on tomorrow's show. Friday Duck Insider with Jerry and Jorgie. See you then.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober